Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sunday Night Teacher Talk. I'm flying sort of solo. We got 1.5 people, man, in this podcast tonight, and that's me and the not so talkative wife. She is she's losing her voice, so she keeps talking like this. It was really adorable. They were singing Silent Night in church today, and she had the silentest of nights. That's the dad joke to kick it off. That lets you know what kind of show we got here. So I haven't done this by myself in a while, but the whole idea here is to help you go into tomorrow feeling great and having your questions answered. And we're going to do the best possible job that we can of that. Look, if you are new and you have an answer for someone and they are typing some stuff in the chat, please put your answer in there. Like, you can speak back to them, and it's this idea that this is a communal activity, that this is not a one-person show. That's how most of these gigs work, but we're trying to be the opposite of that. We realize that here, just as in school, you don't go as far as your dream, you go as far as your team. And so we have to work together to kind of make some of this stuff work. So with that, any question that you have about school, about life, about how those two go together, you can leave it in the chat. If you write question or Q next to it, it just helps. And look, maybe you have a friend, maybe there's someone new at your school that's really struggling and you think that they could really use some help. Remember, this is a great place to kind of like invite people into, because they can ask stuff anonymously and it allows them to be a part of the community. If you're also not a part of our Facebook group, here's me. I gotta do multiple things tonight. Because you got that over there, no voice? Okay. Our Facebook group is a really great place to connect with people. I swear we have the best Facebook group on the planet. And that's that. So with that, wife, hit me with the first question. I got to read them myself. Oh, can I have my glasses? Because I'm that age. I'm that age where it's like I need to have my glasses on to read anything. Pinter is asking, since you are now out west, what, if any, differences in education do you see compared to being in Philly? This can be from personal experience or from your kids. So this is a great question, Trace. So Bro goes to a small private school here, which was a really great fit for him. We try to get our kids to go to the same school, but just different schools were better fits for them. Brody has a 4-day school week. He only goes Tuesday through Friday, which I really love. And Marley has basically a 4-day school week because so she goes Monday through Thursday, regular day. Fridays is, depending on who you ask, it's called Fun Friday. So other people call it something else that sounds way more academic, but it's teachers creating classes that are kind of similar to my hip hop class that I created around all kinds of things like art, design, things that are meant to help teachers take what they like, find things that students like, and then mix them together. So there's like a comic book club and all kinds of different stuff that kids can engage in. And then School on Fridays is only a half day. So we haven't seen that work out to capacity yet. Like last week, there was a basketball game on Friday. Tons of kids went to the basketball game. The week before, something else was wonky. So like it didn't work out the way that it was normally did. So what was it? Thanksgiving. So like so we haven't seen that really work out all the way yet, but this idea of my daughter has more electives here. She has home ec. Bro, I didn't even know they had home ec anymore. I didn't even know it was a thing anymore. Home ec. She has art. And like there's like three electives a day. So this heavy push on academics and realizing that these other things have value is something that I'm seeing schools focus on here. That is, and turnover in the schools I've visited and the schools I visited, and so we toured all the different schools around to kind of see what would be the best fit for our kids. The ones that I visited and had a moment to ask this question, there is little to no teacher turnover here. We were at a school here, very, very small town in Melrose, New Mexico. And the principal told me, he's like, dude, people either retire or they die. That's how we get rid of people. Like, that's how people leave here. Like, no one, he goes, that's not even a thing, like a conversation ever, which I just thought really speaks to some of the schools. There are things that I did like in Philly that aren't here, but the last thing I'll say about this, Trace, is I don't yet know all the specific needs of like the community, right? Like I knew in Philly, like what a lot of the community needs were, because I talked to parents and students and community leaders. Here, I don't have that sense yet. So I'm sure there's other stuff that I would change, but I just think that it's been really great and wonderful so far. Got another one? All right. Linda's asking, what's your recommendation for makeup test policy for students who were absent on the day of the test? So it depends. My thing for if you're just absent in general is all of my assessments are on Fridays all the time. So that means typically retakes for anyone, like if you didn't like the way that you did on a test, whether you got a 90 and you want to get 100 or you got a 4 and you want to pass, you can retake that assessment the following week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, before school, during lunch, or after school. You just have to let me know that you're coming, because otherwise I leave. And so I would tell kids that were absent to make up during one of those times in one of those days. However, if someone was out for like a week and they had COVID or the flu or someone passed away, right? Like depending on why they were out, I would meet with that student first and figure out a day where we could do a makeup examination for them. Because the thing is, everyone just piles work on kids when they're not there. And one, I'm not interested in that. I don't give kids all the assignments that they missed. I exempt kids from stuff all the time. If your grandpop died and you missed a week of school and that was like someone that you were super close to, I'm not going to just like, you're not going to come back to school and get hit with a whole bunch of work. I'm going to give you necessities, and then we're going to make a plan as to when you can hand those back and when you can take those assessments. Part of the reason I do that, Linda, is because most other teachers don't. Most other teachers, you come back to school, they had everything in Google Classroom. They say that you have as many days as you missed to make it up. And it's like, that's fine as a general rule, but it kind of depends on what the kid has been going through. If they missed a week of school, now, if you're on vacation, that's a different conversation, because, you got these dudes that are just like taking vacation in like mid-February. Like you don't have off all summer, but maybe that's another conversation, but that's generally how I handle that. Hit me, wife.
For real?
Okay. Wait, what do you mean?
You said hit me.
No, not for real. Hit me like
It's a joke.
from the streets, babe.
No,
all right. So Gian is asking, how do you deal with children who consider insulting one another part of their banter, but it is done in your classroom? How do you maintain your composure and not get flustered at the disrespect? So this is a great question, because it came up in a family that this is how people showed their love. It was like very blue collar, sarcastic, like you just, my students call, you would just bid on each other. And that was a way to show affection. Now we could show just straight love to your face too, right? It wasn't the only way, but it was just it was playful. Now, what I think students don't understand all the time is that one, they can't read the situation. So some kids, you're making fun of your buddy and they're not having a good day, and then it's going to blow up. Two, it's not the right time and place, and students need to know that also, that like there is code switching is a real thing. Like being able to switch up and have a whole different conversation in this, like act a different way in this space, is a real thing. So I think to me, it's having the conversation. It's like, if you're not comfortable with it in your classroom, maybe that's something you might want to consider changing your mindset on a little bit. But if you see it going too far, if you see that it's too much, it's sitting down with those students saying, listen, we got to have real talk right now. This is what I'm seeing. And then when I speak to it, this is what I'm hearing from you all. Like, so I'm seeing this sort of like back and forth banter. But when I call you out on it, we're just friends and we're just kidding around. So I want to make sure that from all parties, this is actually like, are we just kidding around? All right. If you get a sense as the teacher, Gian, that someone's not a part of that they're just saying that because all their friends are right there, talk to them afterwards, right? Is this really what's going? Am I really like, because I said that, this was the look on your face. I just want to make sure that you're feeling safe. I just want to make sure that because I can shut it down and then no one even needs to know that it came from you. Just let me know. It's having that conversation and then letting them know, listen, sometimes it goes too far. You might not be able to see it because you're in the middle of it, but I need to know that when I need to be able to hit the switch on this when I need to, because sometimes it takes over my lessons. Sometimes it's taking the attention from the students. Sometimes it's going too far and you're not getting your work done, which means you're not finding success because you'd rather be doing this than this. School is number one. Your success is my primary concern. I don't want to need to necessarily squash it. So for now, let's just say, if I say, yo, we need to cut it for like, I need 30 seconds, I need 60 seconds, I need the rest of the period, or today's not the day because I'm not feeling it, then I need to be able to know that I can hit the switch on this at any given moment, and that you're not going to like get one more dig in, one more thing, because then it's going to become a problem. Then I got to shut it down all the way because it shows that you don't have the self-control. So it's having those conversations with students like they're adults, like they're grown, giving them that respect. And I think that you'll see that's generally how I handle most things. And just expect that there is going to be like, there's a learning curve there. There's going to be kids that'll do it. And you'll say, yo, I need you to cut it out. And then they're going to get one more dig in. You got to go, yo, I'm sorry. Remember I was talking about, I'm not playing right now. So I need you to stop. Do you understand? I appreciate it because I want you to be successful. And right now you're not finding success in here. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for checking yourself. Thank you. All right, let's move on. And then that's how you just roll with it. And hopefully that works. Thank you, wife. Professor Zest is asking, if you could design your ideal school, what would it look like? Grading, curriculum, etc. Professor Zest, this is the longest possible answer. Have you seen what I get? Well, I get a little question and I have a long answer. So I think a few things that come to mind are, I would try to get the greatest possible teachers available. And build a culture that focuses on teachers first and students second. Why? Because teachers are there you're trying to keep people forever. If I create a space where you feel safe, where you feel empowered, where you feel important, then this only helps kids. Our curriculum is simply based on helping students do well. There are no kind of like, there's no silver bullets in this situation, right? Like, we're not going to try and do a thing and say all kids need to learn this way. We're going to diversify as much as needed and as much as possible. If I had my own school, we would really meet all special education needs, and we would figure out a way, come hell or high water, to figure out how to help every kid with every difficulty find the best amount of success. Now, look, I realize that resources are limited and funding is limited, but I know there's stuff out there. Well, how do I know? Because I'm in the business, so I know that there are like grants that you can write. There are people that would be willing to give up their time. I would create a curriculum that would help all students be able to find success. And then I would, I think it's really, I don't think there's enough communal activity in schools. What I mean by that is like neighborhood. One of the best things my school in West Philly ever did was invite our neighbors in. There's people that live in the neighborhoods that you live in. Like even right now, right? I met a dude the other day whose family has owned a business here in our neighborhood. They own a private airport on the outskirts of town where it's been through like 4 generations or something like that. They're clearly successful. You see their land and their house and their stuff. Like, why isn't anyone from that family coming in the schools and talking to kids about like, y'all, I grew up in this small town also, and here's what we did. I see that over and over and over again in the neighborhood, like just walking around, meeting interesting people, going to different churches and introducing myself. There's people doing cool stuff, people that are successful, people that have deep peace, people that have great families. Like, why aren't we bringing folks into our schools to have them connect this so-called real world to what we are learning in schools and talking to kids about the value of what we're doing and how that's going to benefit your actual practice as a person outside of school. So that's a little bit of kind of what I think about when it comes to, that's like off the top of my head, kind of what I think about. That's a really great question. And I wish I had more time. I wish I could just sit here and answer that. That would be a great podcast question. Hit it, wife. My buddy John Fox is saying, not education related. That's fine. We take all kinds, as long as it doesn't have anything to do with cooking, John, because I'm just going to answer top ramen. My upstairs neighbor is very noisy with footsteps, etc. No idea who this person is. Should I try talking to them? Or do I risk making the situation worse? Might not even. Is there another part to that, lover? Lover. I can sing all now that you're not over here. I'm just going to sing. Be their fault. Short of putting down carpets. Not sure if there's anything I can do. John, I think that is, to me, I look at things as promptings, right? But here's the gig, Fox. I love making friends. I love going over and talking to people. I love introducing myself to my neighbors. I really want to introduce myself to the neighbor across the street, but he has a giant Doberman and it's not ever on the leash. And I'm nervous to walk over there because I'm thinking that thing's going to bite me. But it is, so I would just think like, well, you're making enough noise. I'm going to go up and say, what's up? And say, hey, I just wanted to come up and introduce myself. I hear you walking all the time. And I just wanted to say hello. And it's not, I wouldn't say it in a mean way. I wouldn't say it like in even like a playful way. Even it's just like hey, I keep hearing you walk, and I'm like, I'm just going to go upstairs and introduce myself, and then just see who they are. You might find any number of things out about them, and they might not think that like you can hear them downstairs, and so it's they probably will say like, oh, so you can hear me now? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize, like, I didn't really even think about that. Or, I'm in the middle of renovating my apartment. I don't have a rug, or I'm broken. I don't have a rug, or whatever it is. I think it's just a fun way to kind of make the connection. And then if it really becomes problematic, it's something that you can go talk to that person with. It's just like with parents at school, right? Like I never want my first email contact or communication with a parent to be something about like how your kid did something bad or how I have a problem. So if I'm talking to my neighbors and they are having a party late at night, I can go over and be like, yo, my man, it's 10 o'clock. I got to get up early in the morning, and they're far more likely to do it because it's not like a surprise that I came over, and they already like and respect me. So I would just go up and introduce myself and say, like, tell them who you are and what, what you noticed, and then have the conversation and see where it goes from there. It's hard to answer the question if we couldn't pick that person out of a lineup. It's really hard to have that conversation. It's better to go up and see who they are and see what their situation is. I mean, and I think that will inform your decision better. Go ahead, love. Stephanie is asking, I'm losing my momentum. Went into second year strong, but slipping back into the habits of getting frustrated and wanting to give up. Have 3 kids myself at home. Self-care non-existent. All right. So here's my friend told me, my friend Dr. Keisha, who I did a program with one time. You can go back and watch it if you'd like. It has the thumbnail has both of our pictures on it. Dr. Keisha talks about this idea of when you are really, how does she put it? When you're like overwhelmed, like when something happens in the classroom and you are like, you can feel that you're like, you lose the ability to make rational decisions. All right. And so that's part of the things she and I talked about. She explained like the science of it and what is happening, but you basically lose your ability to make rational decisions. So that's why you need to have a pain plan. And we talk about that in there too. Like a pain plan is, what is my go-to thing that I have to do when I start feeling like this? Because I cannot make a decision myself. So it's almost like having a first aid kit. I don't want to have to go find bandages and Neosporin or gauze or whatever. It's all there. And then I just follow the steps and then things will get better. I think that that's important to have in situations such as yours. So when I'm thinking about that, here's the thing, Stephanie, and this is a lot of teachers aren't going to like this, and probably younger me wouldn't have liked this answer either. Your life and your family are more important than your job. Especially with the teacher shortage right now, you're not getting fired for doing an okay job, right? Like if you need to do it right now, it's just not going to happen. And so that's my bet anyway. Please don't email me and tell me you got fired. I don't know what I'll do with that. However, I know that in my last year in West Philly, it was without a doubt the hardest year I ever taught, and that's saying something. It was so terrible that one of the things I started doing was I made an experiment like I always do. And then I just started leaving on time. I left every day. I waited till I was allowed. School was done at 3, I think that year. We were allowed to leave by 3:10. You had to kind of like just help make sure kids weren't in the hallways and ushering kids out of school, making sure no one needed help or stay after for help or something like that. If I didn't have anyone taking a test or coming in to do something meaningful, if they were just coming in to hang, I told kids that for this week, you can't do it. I went home early that week. I beat traffic that week. I was home before 4 o'clock, which is unbelievable because I don't usually leave school till 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So now I'm getting home early. I'm eating dinner with my family. I'm changing out of my clothes. And I went to bed on time, meaning I figured out how much sleep do I need and then went to bed on time. I'm going to tell you this. It can feel like there's 100 things you could be doing better. And there's a million ways in which you're failing, right? That you're not a good enough mom. You're not a good enough teacher. You're not a good enough wife. You have to order out more than you want to. You're not providing nutritious and delicious dinners because you keep giving your kids chicken fingers and French fries every night. Like the laundry is piling up. You haven't seen your friends. Like there's all, your kids are having a fundraiser at school and you're just too damn tired to participate and help in it, right? There's all these things. But I'm going to tell you, it's hard to make rational thoughts when you're this tired. The 2 things that help the most, getting enough sleep and leaving on time. Because now when you get home, I was getting home on time that I could see my kids right after school, that I could engage with my kids. I could take a walk with my kids. So I could go to the park with my kids. I could play a little bit of video games with my kids. I could do stuff. And it was like, it was tapping back into that life and getting more hours back at home. Then I didn't feel like I had to stay up. So, because here's what would happen. I leave school at 6. I get home by 6:30. We eat dinner really quick. The kids need a bath. It's time for them to go to bed when they're little. And then I feel like I have to stay up later because I didn't even get any time with my wife and I need that connection time. So now I'm staying up too late. Now that that's just stealing from tomorrow. Now I'm getting up later tomorrow because I'm trying to make up that sleep. Now I don't get my morning routine. So, and then the other thing is the morning routine piece. I just think that there's a reason I made that video because I just think it's so important to get. So, because here's what's happening, Steph. When we do things like this, we are not playing defense anymore. We're playing offense. We're taking back our time and we are going into things just a little slower, right? I'm leaving home earlier so I can just have a little bit slower pace at home. I can wind down. I'm going to bed early so I can get up early so I can start my day a little slower and it's not so rushed and rampant, especially when you have 3 kids at home and they, they got 2 different socks on. One kid doesn't even have socks on. They think they're wearing Crocs, even though it's December. And so do I have that kid? Did he try and leave the house the other day with 1 sock on and a Croc? Bro, what's even happening right now? It's slowing those things down and knowing that you can just catch up at school. It will be all right. But that's where you start. And then if I was going to suggest something more, I'll tell you, it cannot be understated. And this is not a plug because you can go to anybody. Seeking out a mentor, a therapist, a workshop, like getting better, not just trying to figure it out myself. Someone already has the answers. Somebody already has the blueprint. Figure out the blueprint and then bring that, like let them help you to get to that next level. And so those would be like my few suggestions. That look, there's more than that. That doesn't handle every single thing that's happening in your life, right? But those will start you on a path to help you start doing better. Hit it, bud. My friend Maisha Hutchinson, who's not at home at Office Depot. I almost said Home Depot today, but those are 2 different depots. Same train, different stop. Okay, that was dumb. We have double-digit number of teachers absent last week. Oh, Lord. But they had no substitutes, so teachers had to cover. Who should be responsible for procuring substitutes when you are absent? I think administration should be, and here's why. I have been so sick before, and I remember my school wanting me to find coverage. I remember I've only had I think I've had 2 migraines in my life, maybe 3. And I'm weak. Those migraines crushed me. It was the worst. I once had a tooth that hurt, and I remember the dentist asking me on a scale from 9 to 10. I was like, dude, it's a 9.5. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I'm telling you, like, he just looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, no, I am weak and this hurts a lot. So the idea of having a toothache, having a migraine, and what I got to start email. You want me to look at the brightly colored box and the little letters and email? Get the hell out of here, right? Like that should be a gift that your admin, like you take care of this. I can't do this right now. So I think there should be someone on the administrative team whose job it is to find coverages and find substitutes. I have come from 2 charter schools that didn't do substitutes ever. We switched and started having substitutes. It was incredible, like unbelievable. To not have to know that people are out and I don't have to cover your class. Because I'm going to tell you what, Maisha, and I'm not telling anyone they need to do this, but this is how I rolled. We had so many people out because that last year in Philly was so bad. There was like 95% turnover that year, something like that. You'd watch people just walk to their car from my classroom window. And you're like, they're carrying a microwave, which means you're not coming back. If you have a small appliance in your hands, you're not coming back. So you watch people leave, and then you immediately are stricken with the fear that they're going to come and ask me to cover. One week, I had 12 coverages in 1 week. And the next Monday, I went in and told the principal and vice principal, no longer. I will cover 1 period a week, 1 coverage you get a week. That's it. I will not do any more. If you give them to me, I will not show up. So know that there would be children in the classroom with no supervision because I will not do it again. I have other things to do. I fill all of my time, right? Like I'm eating with kids, I'm hanging with kids, I'm tutoring kids, I'm working through things with kids, I'm creating exciting lesson plans. Like I can't do that and cover some madhouse upstairs. So so that's kind of my take on that. I think that your school, I would rather them cut other stuff from, like, I don't know what you're going to cut, but like, shoot, I'd rather have my time than any supplies in the school year, right? Like, I'd rather have my time and, like, I don't know, turn the parking lot into, like, sell it to somebody, like, find some money and get us some substitutes. But teachers have enough to take care of. They shouldn't have to take care of figuring out who's going to cover their class too. That's just dumb. All right. Kelly is asking, what are your thoughts on getting a master's degree versus endorsements? I'm not sure what endorsements are. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that. Can someone tell me what that is real quick, and then I can answer that question? Can you keep an eye on the chat, love, and then you can just tell me. I think I know what you're talking about. I would say this on the front end. I think master's degrees can be really great, but they might get you the job. But folks oftentimes kid themselves that if I go and get my master's, I'll make, like, what are you going to make? Like $3,000 more a year. Let's even say you made $5,000 more a year. How many years do you have to work to pay off that master's degree, though? So, and I think that I would rather, and look, this is just my point of view, right? That's why it's my show. But I would rather, I think master's degrees are great in that you're educating yourself. I've met a lot of people that are getting master's degrees because they just want to make more money, and I don't think that's the reason to do it. I would rather become a better person and get my time back. I'd rather become a better teacher. I'd rather like grow and be able to use that knowledge to make a better classroom and a better life for myself than make $3,000 more a year. There's a whole lot more better ways and easier ways you can make 3,000. You could go on TPT and make $3,000 a year easily. You can make $3,000 a week on TPT. I'd rather put my time and effort into that. And if money making is your game, but if it's because you want to get like a promotion or something like that, that's different. But yeah. So let me see the endorsement thing when that comes up, and then you have it.
Endorsements like special ed endorsement, early childhood endorsement opens up opportunities for positions.
It certainly does. So I'm at being an English teacher. English and high school teachers are a dime a dozen. There's always openings for special ed. For me, though, Kelly, it would be, where's my passion? So if I went back into the classroom, I think I'd definitely go into the special ed space more. Like I always was in co-taught classes, which really just means I didn't have to do much special ed paperwork. Like I always worked out a deal with my co-teachers that actually did the paperwork because they knew the language and all the 9,000 acronyms and stuff like that. Where we planned stuff together, we did stuff together, but like they were the one actually typing. So I think I'd move more into that space, but that's because those are the kids I have, because I feel like those students are special education students are grossly underserved and unidentified. And I would want to make a huge shift and change and difference in that and shine a light on kids that are often in the dark. But that's my passion. So that would be my move. I think if you have a master's in history, cool. But if you're special ed certified, jobs are, I think there's going to be so much more openings in jobs from what I've seen. Linda is asking, how do you handle a school year with lots of changes? This year, we've gone from double periods to single periods. Some veteran teachers left. My grade team and department teams are different. You have a second part to that?
No,
okay, so Linda, here's how I did it. We had, in my last few years in Philly, we lost the greatest principal I have ever even known. Like even I get to travel around a lot. I meet a lot of principals. This guy is in my top 5 because I've met some really like unbelievable people also. Easily top 5 of folks ever. And if I really got to know those other principals, he might even be my favorite one. And really strong teams, people that really care. It was like a family. It was like really like a family. Some shady stuff happened. They got let go. And then we had 6 principals in 3 years. One guy left, came for a week. I had 7 co-teachers in 4 years, something like that. One lady lasted for half a day, went to lunch, never came back. So, and then tons of other changes, right? Like so much stuff going on. I find that in the midst of that, it's either, because I've said this many times and folks don't always catch it. If I had stayed in the classroom, I would not have stayed at my school. Why? Because I realized that schools are top down. You can have the greatest teachers in the world, but if you have poor leadership, everyone hates it and they want to leave because leaders that don't lead are a problem, because what they do is they manage, right? They become store managers instead of they're not owning this. They're not leading. When you lead people, you take them somewhere. Managers just are like lifeguards. They just like keep the status quo and make sure no one drowns in the pool, right? But they're not like leading us on this expedition, on this journey of education. That being said, I would think about, is this the place I want to stay? If things didn't get different, if they stayed the same, could I stay here? Would I stay here? That's one thing to think about, right? I don't know where you live and how close other schools are, what other opportunities there are, but I certainly would not stay, even though I know I'm a dime a dozen because I'm an English teacher in high school with no master's degree. I'm not staying. However, if you think there's hope, if you think things could get better, if you see that there's folks are trying, but it just keeps not working, but we're trying to get somewhere good. I've been in those situations too. And in that, I make my own little circle of goodness where I actively go out and tell teachers, like, listen, y'all, we're not all going to make it this year. We need to get on this life raft together. We're going to share resources. We're going to share love. We're going to take care of one another. We're going to help each other out. When there's a problematic student, I'm not sending them to the office anymore. I'm going to send them, like, let's figure out who has off that period, and we're going to send the kid to you to either do work or to get help or to have someone to talk to. We're going to reach out to parents on our own. We're going to make this little like tribe of folks, this little gang that is going to be what we need from one another. And I'm very exclusive about that. I'm not cutting anyone out of meanness, but if you see people that are coming in that are screaming at kids and yelling at kids and carrying on and acting as bad as the students do, bro, I don't want nothing to do with folks like that. So I'm looking for people that I think could do this. And that's how I've done it for years. Even when the school was good, I'm always looking for those people that I can create this little circle with. And that is going to be my group that we band together. And that has been a saving grace more times than I can tell you. Even when some of those people move on, you got to bring somebody else in. You're all like that first day back for PD. I sit in the back of the room and I'm watching who's asking questions, who's paying attention, who looks excited about this, who really wants to do this, who is not being sarcastic in a mean way. Like I'm scouting it out. Like I'm a baseball scout or something. And I'm looking for good players to pull onto my team. And then when the meeting's over, I go over, I introduce myself, I ask them, tell them what I'm about and what I'm doing, see if they're down with it. And then we start meeting together as a team. And that's how I do it. That's how I do life, basically. I'm always like looking to build little communities of people. All right. Mary Dunn is asking, I'm a second-year teacher and I'm having trouble finding a way to connect with my students and sprinkling the magic on lessons. I teach solid lessons in a professional manner, but I feel like they can be dry. I have a fun, silly side, but rarely let the students see that. Any thoughts? So my question, Mary, if we were doing a mentoring session, I would ask, why don't you let the students see that side of you? Because that, to me, I love the professional lessons. I love the having like solid structure. What sometimes is difficult is when the kids don't see the human side of you. it can be tricky. So then the question becomes, how do you do that? To me, if it's this time of the year, it's just talking to kids, right? So maybe you don't even have to start changing your lessons up right away. You're building relationships with students where you're just talking in the hallway. Just be where they are. Be like, go to the lunchroom for 10 minutes and sit down at a table and ask them what's going on. It's going to be weird at first, and they're going to be like, why is Miss Dunn sitting here right now? I call that out. I know, listen, y'all, I know it's first week of school. Y'all don't even know who I am. And you might be thinking, why is this old guy sitting with us? But it's because I love what I do and I need to know y'all so I can teach you. So this is what I'm trying to do here. And so I sit down with kids, I talk to them for 10 minutes, or I walk through the lunchroom and I'll take one thing from in front of one. I take your milk, I'm going to put it in front of another kid and go, here you go, I got this for you. I just mess around with them. So I'm just constantly in the space and being playful and being thoughtful and being kind and talking to students. You'll find that if you do this over a course of years, the older students know you, they get stoked when you come down. And then the younger kids are like, wait, like, why does everyone like you? And it's like, this is what I do. So I would start that momentum. The other thing is, when you do that, you're finding out what kids are interested in. When you find out what kids are interested in, the simple way I was just talking to a mentee about this yesterday. The simple way to carry that over into your lesson is you figuring out. So if I was talking to someone yesterday about essay writing, right? So if you think of if you're writing a persuasive essay, they tell you that in that first paragraph, you have to write something that is like, there's a hook, right? We want to hook the reader. So in that first 3 to 5 sentences, you want to hook the reader. So you're going to give them an amazing fact. You're going to have some kind of figure on there. You're going to maybe ask a rhetorical question. You're going to amaze them with something. So what are you doing to connect those? So I said, what I would do in class to kind of sprinkle some magic on something like that is to literally take less than 5 minutes. And I would talk about on YouTube, every time you click on a video, there's an ad. That ad has 5 seconds, right? There's a correlation there. 5 sentences, 5 seconds. They have on whether you're going to hit skip ad or you're going to watch the ad. And so I would talk to kids about, I maybe play a couple of those things. It takes you 5 seconds, right? We're just going to decide if we're going to skip it or stay on it. And then maybe talking to students, because every student watches YouTube. What ads have you stayed on? What makes you stay on an ad? What is the ad that you didn't expect to stay on, but they did this thing or said this thing or asked this question? You're like, dude, I got to see at least 2 more seconds, 3 more seconds. I at least got to see how they're going to answer this. It's the same thing, right? So what I'm doing is taking a regular lesson and I'm preempting it, like I'm introducing it with something that all students know, that they're all interested in, and maybe they haven't even thought about. They haven't thought about the hook in that way. So now I'm making hook come alive. I'm making it important. I'm making it matter. And I'm connecting it to something that you already are an expert in because you've watched thousands of hours of YouTube probably. And so that's just like me looking at where kids' attention is. And then I have to do the work of figuring out, all right, y'all, like the new Fortnite season just dropped today, right? Is there something in that? And you don't have to go play Fortnite, but you can watch the 2-minute new season trailer. Is there something in that I can connect to what we're learning, the physics of it, the mathematics behind the algorithm or behind how they created something? You're looking for those connection pieces and connecting those to what your students are learning in class. You are holding up a thing. Okay. So look, no more questions. You know what's funny, wife? This is that time of year where I don't know if it's teachers are like, I can't ever figure out if folks are busy, if they're just exhausted, or if they are or what one of the two is, because we see this dip in December every year, and then January it's like the numbers skyrocket and we'll have a workshop or something and everyone's buying it, and
we're
So
getting
yeah,
the teacher document.
so it's tricky, and so,
exhausting.
but it totally is completely understandable. So
Someone said in the comments they were like counting down to Christmas break.
yeah, so and look, and that's
Oh, it's fair.
it
Teaching first.
absolutely, but it's making sure you're taking care of yourself going into Christmas break as much as you possibly can, so that you don't want to show up at Christmas break like you just showed up at a deserted island after your ship got wrecked, right? Because then you need too much out of it. There's not enough Christmas break, because you got Christmas Eve and if you celebrate Christmas Eve and Christmas. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, that's 2 days where basically nothing's open unless you go to the movies, right? So all my Jewish friends would just like go to the movies on Christmas. And then you have New Year's Eve and New Year's. So it's only like this handful of days that's in between where everything's busy. There's a ton of stuff to do. You're cleaning up your house. You're getting rid of your tree. You're doing all this stuff. So it's like figuring out ways. Go to bed early. Leave school on time. Plan things out ahead of time. Like go to the Christmas parade, like the Christmas festival, driving around, drinking hot chocolate and looking at Christmas lights. Like put those things on your calendar, because the season is only but so long. And then you're back in school and it's only thing that's staring you in the face is winter until you have spring break. So being mindful of that as you move forward, unless you're in the Southern Hemisphere, all y'all down there in Australia and New Zealand and such, and you're in the middle of summer right now. Good for you. Is that it, wife? Cool. All right, gang. We are done. We'll see you next week. I don't know if next week, there might be, I think there's one more week after that. And then the week after that is Christmas Eve. I don't know that we'll stream on Christmas Eve. We have to figure that out. But
Stream on Christmas Eve.
What's that?
No, not on Christmas Eve.
All right, we're not streaming on Christmas Eve. So
Everyone's gonna want to watch Christmas Eve and talk about education.
they might. Maybe we can make cookies with everyone.
Wrapping gifts. I mean, yeah, you want to live stream in our kitchen?
Maybe we will. We'll have to see. I'm certainly not wrapping gifts. We'll see you next week, though, gang. Thanks for everything, and please hit that like button so that we can hit the algorithm and more people get to see this, and we can start caring for more people where they are. We'll see you next week. Peace.